Hi YouTube. I made a previous video on comparing the old and the new production Colt Python. I just showed you the close-up shots of it. Well, today I'm going to explain the differences in them. I want to start off by saying that I don't prefer one over the other. I'm not here to say which one's better than the other one. I'm just going to show you the differences, and if you were looking at getting one of these, you make the decision for you. Okay, we'll start off with saying that this gun here, it's a bright stainless gun. It was made in 1984. A lot of people think it looks like nickel, but it's the polish that they put on them. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. Now, these guns, they were introduced in 1955. And back when they were introduced, they didn't have all the modern technology that they have today. So what they did is they had to hand fit stuff together. Stuff was made larger, and then it was hand fit with stones and files and whatever. And it took very skilled people to do this kind of stuff, and they did it all the way up until around 1999 is when they stopped regular production on the Colt Python. They moved it over to the custom shop, and they did it as an ordered basis. Now, they were really expensive. They've always been expensive, but when you have hand labor going into something, you have to pay for that. They are very, very, very well made. Well, it became so expensive, and people were looking at a Smith & Wesson 686, for example, that you could buy for half the price. You could buy two Smith & Wessons for what you could buy one Colt Python for. And they just decided to cease production of them altogether. Well, they reintroduced the Colt Python in the year 2020, and that's what this is. Now, they've used a lot of new modern technology. They build these things on CNC machines. There's absolutely zero hand fitting in them. There's what they call MEM parts, which is mold injection. And a lot of people have a problem with that. Well, you shouldn't. You're never going to hurt one of these things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this gun. There's nothing. They had to make it affordable. If they had hand fitting them together, this gun would cost $4,000 and nobody would buy it. That's why companies like Wilson Combat, Nighthawk Customs, and all that, those are all hand fit together by skilled gunsmiths, and they cost $4,000. Nobody's going to do that. What they did is they made a gun that was very affordable. They cost, I believe, the retail price on a new Colt Python is around $1,500. That's what MSRP is on them. That's very, very, very fair for buying what you get. It's the best revolver that you can buy on the market today, right out of production. All right, so let's look at a few differences, and I like them both. There's things I like about the old one better, and there's things I like about the new one better. But I'm going to show you some of the subtle differences that they have. All right, so if you look at this old one, for example, you'll see that this trigger is a little bit more curved than the new production one, and it has this little cylinder stop back here. The hammer spur is checkered on top, and it's a lot bigger, sticks out a lot further than the new production one. The roll marks are a little bit different. They put 357 Magnum cartridge because I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Smith & Wesson had some kind of patent for the 357 Magnum. so Colt had to use cartridge on it. The barrel is not recessed, the crown is not. The sight cannot be changed very easily at home. It is pinned in. Usually requires a gunsmith. Unless you're really good, you could risk doing damage to the weapon. The rear sight on it is awesome. It's adjustable. This particular one has a white outline on it. It's adjustable windage and elevation. And everything about this thing is smooth. If you notice, when I open this up and spin this thing around, you don't hear any rattlings, any scraping, anything. And it just works like a Swiss watch. It's very smooth. Now, on the new one, a little bit of differences. There's no stop right here. The barrel is recessed, which is a good thing. There can be no damage done to it if you were to drop it or anything. The sight on top of it can be changed out to a fiber octave or gold bead or whatever you want, just by using a little Allen wrench. Now, here's one of my complaints about this new gun. The rear sight is terrible. I mean terrible. So Wilson Combat came up with a sight for these things that you can buy. I believe they're like $125. There's absolutely zero play in it. The factory sight wobbled all around. It took a little set screw on top to adjust the windage on it, and it came loose with the recoil of the gun. It was terrible. $125 fixes that. The roll marks are a little bit different. It just says 357 Magnum instead of 357 Magnum cartridge, and that bothers some people. I don't know why. They just want a reason to complain about this gun. The trigger's a little bit different. The hammer is not as long, the hammer spur is it, and it's serrated instead of checkered, and that bothers some people. But it still has a really smooth action. Everything still works correctly. Now what you'll notice when you open this up, you can hear it. It's not as precisely put together. You can hear it change when you flip it over and do that. You don't get that with the old gun. You spin it over, it's just as smooth as can be. Little bit of a difference. The whole action has been simplified on the inside of the new gun. Now, they eliminated a lot of parts. Well, in my opinion, when you eliminate parts and you have something that works just as good, it's less stuff to go wrong. So if you look at this old gun, if I take this action, I cock it back, and I pull the trigger, you can see the hammer stays recessed down in there, and when I release it, it releases. That's a very complicated system. The new one does not do that. If I cock it back, the hammer just stays put, even when I release it. It's in the same spot. People say that these old guns are very fragile. Well, that's incorrect. People that say that have never had one jump time or anything like that. I've shot hundreds of rounds through Colt Pythons, probably thousands of rounds through them. I've never had an issue. What you do with a Colt Python or any revolver is you hold tension on the cylinder as you're cocking it, and then when you move this afterwards, if it clicks into place, you probably have a timing issue. This gun has had heavy loads shot through it. It's had 38 special shot through it. And I know there's these people that use gloves and handle these things like they're the holy grail of anything. And I've gotten comments saying, Well, that's about as common as Sunday morning. Well, they're right, because you know how many of these they made? As many of them as they could sell. There's nothing uncommon about a Colt Python. They're just expensive. They're very expensive because of the work that went into them. If you were to buy a gun like this in today's time, this gun is going to cost you between $3,000 and $4,000 for a polished stainless one. This gun is going to cost you $1,500. You could literally almost buy 3 of these and have just as good of a gun. Works just as good. But people don't like it because it's old. They don't like change is what it is. I think that's what it comes down to. There's nothing wrong with the new Colt Python. Now, for example, this cylinder release piece right here, which all forged on the old gun. The new one looks exactly the same, but it's a mem part. Can you honestly tell me you see a difference there? What is going to be the problem with that, ever? Now, if you want something to complain about, if you look at the other side, they decided to put the serial number and this ugly barcode right on the side of this gun. I do have a problem with that. I think they could have found a little bit better place to put that, where it looked a little bit better. The roll marks are a little bit different on the side of the barrel, but that's just what you call change. This one doesn't have anything on the side of it. There's the roll marks. Yep, and they are fingerprint magnets. If you're looking for somebody who's going to handle them with white gloves, you're looking in the wrong spot. These guns get used and then they get cleaned. Like, this gun's almost 40 years old, and you see how clean it is? All you have to do is clean them and take care of them. Don't abuse them. Don't throw them around or anything like that. But people will find a reason to complain. People that buy the new one will say the old one's not as good, so that's why they bought the new one. People that own just the old ones, they say the new one's not as good. They'll never buy one of those, and that's their opinion. I'm telling you, there's good stuff and bad stuff. I personally like the hammer, the bigger hammer on the older gun. I think it looks cooler. I like the trigger a little bit more curved. It looks cooler. But I can tell you this. Both of them are equally as smooth, the actions on them. If you take the double actions of this thing, it's actually a little bit smoother. It's just even all the way through than the old one. This one is really smooth till it gets about right there, and it gets a little heavier, which is good and bad. You can sort of stage it right there and then pull it. Now, single action is exceptional on the old one. It's a little bit heavier on the new one. Takes a little bit more pressure to pull it, but it's still nothing bad. It's still great. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages. This one came with laminate grips on it. This gun has raised checkering on it. These are, of course, aftermarket. They're like the Colt Elite grips. But basically, you're still getting a Colt Python if you buy a new production one. No, it's not hand fit. Yes, it's probably more exact, because CNC machines usually do not make mistakes. And I know there's going to be people saying they could enter the settings wrong on the machine. Well, they won't go together if they did that. There was a couple problems with this gun when it came out about the cylinder not rotating. Well, they addressed that. That could happen to any gun. That could happen to a Glock. And they're supposed to be the most reliable things on the earth. One of the differences in these is they made them 4 1/4 instead of 4 inch. So if you look, it's 1/4 inch longer. It's just little subtle differences. If you look down to the trigger guard, the trigger's a little bit different shape than this one. But you're absolutely getting a Colt Python if you buy a new production Colt Python, and you're getting it for $1,500 instead of $3,000 plus. Things are very, very, very expensive. It's whatever you want to spend your money on. Nobody tells anybody what to spend their money on. But this new production gun is better, smoother, it's better looking, it's better made than pretty much any production revolver on the market. A new Smith & Wesson will run you $800, give or take. This is $1,500. The new Smith & Wesson is not polished. It doesn't have this cool looking rib on it. It doesn't work as smooth. It's just not the same gun. If you want the $800 Smith & Wesson, more power to you. But if you want a Colt Python, this is a great option for $1,500. If you're one of these people that like to collect and put these things away in a safe and never shoot them, which I don't understand that for anything. Maybe you want to go the $3,000 or $4,000 route. It's very simple. It's whatever makes you happy, not what makes the internet happy. Both of them are great guns, both of them. There's nothing wrong with either one. Either way you go, you're going to be happy with them. But just figured I'd follow up on that video and explain a couple of the differences and similarities with them. Show them side by side. I don't think there's another video out there of the exact same size one as the 4-inch or 4 1/4 when it comes to the new one, sitting side by side. They usually have a one blued one and one stainless, or one nickel and one stainless. These are both stainless 4-inch models. One of them's 40 years old, one of them's 1 year old. And you don't have to go spend $2,000 to be the first person to have one. When they came out, people were getting ridiculous prices for these things because they were gobbing them up everywhere and reselling them on Gunbroker. They're available, folks. Sometimes you can get them a little cheaper than MSRP, but you're looking to pay around $1,500, and you're looking to pay anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 for a vintage stainless one. This is a bright stainless one, so it's a little bit on the higher side. One of the other little subtle differences is the back straps on them. This one's got serrations, this one's smooth. Does that matter to anybody? I guess it could. It really doesn't make a difference to me. But people are going to find a reason to complain about everything, and they shouldn't. They should just buy what they like and enjoy it. Take it, shoot it, clean it, put it away. It's very simple. Let me know what y'all think, which one you prefer. I prefer them both. I like both of them. I think they're both great guns. They both have served their purpose with me, and they both virtually look brand new besides the fingerprints that get all over them. Like I said, I'm never going to be a handle on with gloves kind of guy. I don't care if it gets fingerprints on it. I have a polishing cloth that'll wipe it right off. Alright, well, thank you for watching this video.